Hey everyone, welcome back. Super excited for this deep dive. We're going to be talking about a book, and I'm going to tell you up front, it's a little different than maybe what you're used to when it comes to learning music.
Ooh.
Yeah, so it's called Do Re Mi to You, a guide for adult music learners by Zuzana Lenartova.
Okay, I've heard of this one. Interesting choice.
Right. And we're going to get into what makes it so unique. It's not so much your typical, practice this scale, memorize this chord kind of book. It's really more about the emotional journey of learning music as an adult, which I think is something that often gets overlooked.
It totally does. Like, we've all been there, right? Trying to learn something new as a grown-up and feeling like, am I too old for this? Is this even possible?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's funny because the author, she's been teaching adults music for forever, so she totally gets those anxieties. In fact, there's this hilarious part where she compares music teachers to dentists.
Okay, that's kind of scary, but I get it.
Yeah, right. It's that fear of judgment, of not being good enough. Like maybe as kids we didn't care as much, but as adults it can feel way more intense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what I appreciate about the book is that it doesn't just ignore those feelings, it actually acknowledges them head on and gives you tools to deal with them.
No, like what?
So she has this thing called the 3 magical S's. Stop, stay calm, start again.
So it's like a mantra for when you're about to have a meltdown over a tricky passage.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that frustration is normal, taking a breath, and then coming back to the music with a fresh perspective, which, honestly, that's good advice for life in general, not just music.
Totally. And I like that it's not just all about the touchy-feely stuff. It does tie those emotional aspects into the practical stuff,
That,
too.
for sure. One thing that really stood out to me is how she emphasizes developing your own style. It's not just about playing the notes perfectly, but about finding your own musical voice.
Which she compares to, like, fine winemaking or mastering a signature dish, right? It takes time, dedication, the right approach to make something truly your own.
Such a good analogy, because let's be real, most of us aren't going to be the next Lang Lang or whoever. It's about finding what you bring to the music and nurturing that over time.
So it's less about being a carbon copy of some famous pianist and more about discovering what makes you, you musically.
Exactly. And the book does a great job of encouraging you to celebrate those small victories along the way, which can be so key for staying motivated.
Makes sense. Especially as an adult, it's easy to get discouraged if you feel like you're not progressing fast enough.
Totally. So we've touched on the emotional side, this idea of developing your own style. But what about the actual nuts and bolts of learning music? Does the book cover that too?
It does, yeah. It's got chapters on technique, ear training, sight reading, even exam prep if you're into that kind of thing.
Okay, so someone picking up an instrument for the very first time, or maybe someone like me dusting off an old one after years of neglect, would they still find this book useful?
I think so.
Yeah.
It's not a super in-depth theory textbook or anything, but it covers the basics in a really clear and approachable way. Like, there are chapters dedicated to scales, chords, rhythm training.
Okay. But, I have to admit, those are the things that kind of make me want to run for the hills. Like scales. Can we make those fun somehow? Because I remember them being so tedious.
And this is what I think is really interesting about the book. She actually presents those fundamental elements in a way that's, dare I say, enjoyable.
Okay, I'm intrigued. How does she do that?
So, for example, with rhythm training, she really emphasizes clapping and tapping.
Huh. So like getting a feel for the rhythm before you even touch the instrument?
Exactly. It's a much less intimidating way to start, especially if you're feeling self-conscious.
Clever. It's like sneaking in the fundamentals through a back door.
And she also talks a lot about smart practice, focusing on quality over quantity, taking breaks when you need them. It's about working with your adult brain, not against it.
Okay, I can get behind that. Because, let's be real, we don't have the same kind of endless hours and energy that we did as kids.
Right. And she totally acknowledges that adults learn differently. We have different schedules, different attention spans, the whole 9 yards.
So we've got the emotional stuff, the practical skills. But what about the fun part? Choosing the music itself. Because, who wants to spend hours practicing something they hate?
Oh, she's got you covered there, too. And this is where I think the book gets really unique. She compares picking repertoire to starting a romantic relationship.
Wait, what? Like swiping right on a Beethoven sonata?
Not exactly. But the idea is that you're going to be spending a lot of time with these pieces, so you better enjoy their company.
Okay, I kind of get it. So it's not just about tackling whatever's considered the standard repertoire, but about finding pieces that actually speak to you, that you connect with emotionally.
Exactly. Because let's be real, if you're not excited about the music you're playing, practice is going to feel like a chore.
So true. And I bet that makes a huge difference in terms of motivation and progress, too.
Absolutely. It's not just about technical proficiency. It's about finding that spark, that connection to the music that makes you want to keep playing.
Okay, I'm liking this book more and more. It's like she gets it, the whole adult learner thing.
Yeah, I think that's what makes it so special. So we've covered a lot: the book's approach to emotions, practice, choosing the right pieces. But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, any other key takeaways you want to highlight?
I think the biggest one is that learning music as an adult is a unique journey, and this book really acknowledges that. It celebrates the victories, but also doesn't shy away from the challenges.
And that's so important because it's easy to feel alone in those struggles, like you're the only one who finds it hard.
Right. But this book makes you feel seen, understood, and it also provides those practical tools to help you move forward.
And to do it in a way that actually feels joyful, not like some kind of punishment.
Exactly. She's all about making the process fun and fulfilling.
Well, I have to say, I'm impressed. This book sounds like a real gem for anyone who's ever dreamed of making music, but felt, intimidated or discouraged.
Totally agree. It's like a breath of fresh air, especially for those of us who maybe thought it was too late to start.
All right, well, that's a great place to pause for now. So before we wrap things up completely, any final words of wisdom for our listeners out there?
Just this. It's never too late to pursue your musical passions.
Beautifully said. And it sounds like Do Re Mi to You is a great place to start.
It is. And remember, enjoy the journey.
Couldn't agree more. And you can snag a copy on Amazon right now if you want to follow along. It's available in paperback or on Kindle.
As a Kindle book.
So
Fits
what are you
you.
waiting for?
Go check it out.
Happy music making.